So Mark Cuban, who is actually the owner of the NBA's Dallas Mavericks, and he's also pretty well known from his role on the show Shark Tank here in the United States, has recently come out and revealed a couple of his positions as well as his views on the market. So let's dive deeper into this and figure out what stocks he owns and what he thinks is going on in the market and whether he's buying more stocks. Let's go. Hey, welcome back guys to another video. If not subscribed already, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. So we're getting right into it. We really want to dive deeper into see what this billionaire Mark thinks, and we really want to understand why he owns the stocks that he does. So he's come out and said that he owns 2 FANG stocks, and it might actually surprise you which 2 he owns. So looking right into the article here, it says that Mark Cuban actually owns maybe 4 dividend stocks, 2 short stocks, and he owns Amazon and Netflix. So the 2 FANG stocks that he owns is Amazon and Netflix. Now, I found this pretty surprising because both of these are highly valued companies, and you have companies like Google and Facebook which are actually fairly valued, which post a lot more profits, but he hasn't revealed if he has any stakes in those stocks. So out of possibly 8 positions that he owns, he's only revealed 2 of them, which again is Amazon and Netflix. And we don't really know what the other 6 are. We can speculate, but he hasn't really given us any hints to figure out what these other 6 stocks could potentially be. So just based on the 2 stocks that he owns, Amazon and Netflix, I'd kind of be curious if he was buying more Netflix right now because it has been on a recent pullback, or if he has some sort of really low cost basis and he's just enjoying these massive gains that the stock has provided him over the last few years, and especially in 2018 so far. If I had to guess if he's buying, my guess would be no, because the valuation on Netflix right now is absolutely insane, and I don't think that he'd be putting any more money into the stock right now. But again, that's just a guess. Maybe he has more information than I do, and maybe he thinks that Netflix is going a lot higher than it currently is right now. Now, it's also really important to understand that he also revealed that he has a bunch of cash on the sidelines that he has not invested currently. And the reason for this is because, we'll get into it in a second, but he's really waiting for an opportunity to put this money to good use and invest in a company that he believes in at a fair valuation. Now, this is something that I think a lot of investors can learn from, and this is something a lot of investors don't do already currently. So I personally have a lot of cash on the sidelines. It's actually the most amount of cash that I've ever held in my portfolio. And that's because, yes, there are opportunities in the market, but I see that there's going to be even better opportunities. And as soon as those better opportunities pop up, I will not hesitate. I will enter those positions and I will enter them big. You gotta understand that a lot of stocks are overvalued, especially with the recent run up in 2016, 2017, and even some 2018. So you have to understand that a lot of these companies are kind of in a situation where if they miss earnings or any bad news comes out, they will drop significantly. And a perfect example of that is Facebook. Another good example of this is Warren Buffett, and he's actually holding the most amount of cash that he's ever held in his lifetime. And that should also give you kind of some idea as to the deals that are out there in the market. Now, if Warren Buffett, who's one of the best investors, if not the best investor of all time, doesn't feel that there's companies out there that he can put his money into, then maybe as a regular investor, you should also be a bit more cautious before entering stocks and entering positions right now. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities out there. Warren Buffett has come out blatantly and said that he does not understand tech stocks, and tech stocks are some of the best stocks in my opinion to invest in currently. It's the sector that I understand personally the best. So there are opportunities out there. Just because Warren Buffett doesn't see it does not mean that there isn't opportunities, but you have to be a bit more cautious because the overall market seems to be overvalued or reaching that overvalued point currently. So the reason that Mark Cuban is holding a lot of cash right now is because he believes that we borrowed from the future to kind of pump up the current market. Now, that's a quote directly from him. And essentially what this means is that we've taken out money from future, aka debt, so that we can kind of put that into the market and prop up the current market to make it look even better than it actually is. Another way to say this really in a nutshell is that he believes that the current market conditions are not sustainable and that eventually this will come back to bite us, but he doesn't know if that's going to happen now, if that's going to happen in a few years. He doesn't know how long it can sustain itself at its current rate. but that's why he's kind of being cautious and he's holding a lot of cash on the sidelines, because when it does correct, he'll be ready to put more money into the market and seize up that opportunity essentially. Now this is a valid concern, and I mean everyone should be cautious of this and everyone should be aware of this, but there are good examples of companies that aren't really relying on this. Some of the largest companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, they have very small amounts of debt but very high profit margins and very high amounts of cash on their balance sheet. These companies aren't really in that situation where, you know, if the market does take a downturn or the economy takes a downturn, that they'll be in trouble, because they have more than enough cash on hand to sustain themselves for a very, very long time. These are the kind of companies that I personally look for, and it's pretty much in a nutshell companies that maximize their profits with using as little debt as possible. I don't like to see companies that take out massive amounts of debt just so they can continue to push out that growth. Yes, it is important, especially when you're small, take on debt because you do need that money to push growth. But once you're a large company like Netflix, you should not have that amount of debt on hand, in my opinion. Now, of course, I could be proven wrong, and the stock has been moving up significantly over the last few years. So I missed out on that opportunity. I mean, a lot of people did. But what I like to stick to is companies that have good balance sheets, a lot of cash on hand, and manageable debt. Now, on the flip side, Mark Cuban also said that if he gets a gut feeling that the economy growth will continue at around 4% or higher, and as a result debt will continue to decrease, then he will look to enter a position back into the market with maybe new stocks or add to his current position. So again, it's not necessarily that he's a bear in the market. Remember, he only has 2 short positions and he has 6 long positions. So he is still bullish in the market, but he's just waiting for the best opportunity, in his opinion, to enter a stake into companies that he's been watching or companies that he already has in his portfolio. And I personally think that this is fair. I mean, who doesn't want to see strong economy growth, and who doesn't want to see debt levels decrease? Because that really shows the economy is thriving, and that really shows there's a lot more good news and good growth ahead. So I just really wanted to make this video to share with you guys some views from a very well-known billionaire and how he's currently investing and how his take on the market currently is. Now, of course, I don't believe that he's any Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger or any of those great investors. I believe he's a good investor, yes, but he's not necessarily one of the best. And that's why I think it's important to look at how Mark Cuban is looking at the market, because this could actually be something that we could learn from as just regular investors. So in my opinion, the most curious thing about this article was not the 2 FANG stocks that he owns, but it's actually the 2 short positions that he owns. So from watching Shark Tank personally, I know that he is very bullish on tech, and specifically he's bullish on sensors. He loves sensors. He thinks sensors are definitely the way of the future. And I have no doubt that one of those 4 dividend companies have some sort of exposure to sensors. But in terms of downside and stocks that he's shorting, I actually have absolutely no idea, because I don't really follow his investments. I don't really follow news around him. This was just something interesting that I thought I'd share with you guys. But I have absolutely no idea what stocks he could possibly be shorting. Now, this is where I want you guys to come in. I want you guys to comment down below and let me know what stocks you think he's shorting. Maybe it's Tesla. Maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's some other stock, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think. But either way guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to invest positively.